I almost wonder if there's an age and maturity thing to it. Like, do we think there's a lot of high schoolers that are capable and able and like it's part of the world of somebody that's, 15, 16, whatever, to be able to safely have conflict? Or is it too much of an insecure time?
I certainly wasn't able to have conflict in high school, but I do think that there were definitely people who had conflict and continued to be friends afterwards. And maybe that happened a little bit to me too. So there was conflict, as there always is in relationships, but I think in high school, the conflicts, at least in my high school and my friend group, were a little bit simpler,
Mm-hmm.
or a little bit less communicated about. So,
Mm-hmm.
like one day you're in a fight, one day you're not,
Mm-hmm.
which is not the type of naturalness and conflict that we're talking about in terms of our lives at this age.
Right.
Um, yeah, I don't know. What do you think about high schoolers?
Well, my feeling is that high schoolers, while it is a more naive time of life, are getting more sophisticated and comfortable with speaking openly. It used to be kind of forbidden for men to talk openly about feelings and negotiate some of the tougher social emotional issues between people. But I see that more and more.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just experiences of people that have kids that are in high school and stuff like that. So I have a lot of hope that there's more of that happening. But what I think happens more often when you're younger, and you sort of hinted at this, is that conflict occurs because people can't help it. Someone just has a moment of being natural and saying what's on their mind, or just letting their emotions, kind of take over, and then they just get passionate and say something. It causes conflict. You don't particularly talk about it, or maybe you have one conversation that is much more an outpouring of emotion than it is like a negotiating of like, no, but I actually do feel this way on a deep level. It's more just like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I care so much about you. And that, even though that's nice, it does sweep some things under the rug. And
Mm-hmm.
then you can grow stronger from it, or it can break up an early friendship. Um, but it's not because you've actually worked out the tough issues. It's because there's enough there that's naturally bonding you together that the friendship grows, because it has built in a tolerance for a little bit of conflict, and maybe more of an appreciation for the different aspects of that person. So it almost is like a less clear and communicative way of doing it. And I would say probably the most common way of doing it, but not as mature and ultimately good, as being able to reason out and tease out all the little bits of the conflict, the different deep feelings and ideologies at play. I think there's a lot of value in putting everything on the table, but I don't see it happen very much.
That sounds right. And I am struck by the idea of putting everything out on the table, which I also like. And I realized that every person is different with that too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that there are some people that um, might experience a conflict differently. So, like something could happen to with me and my friend, and it could touch more on things inside me than it touches on things inside her. And so I could feel more hurt by it, and more like bringing more things to the table. And she could feel like, oh, I did this wrong. I still feel this way. I did this right. I'm listening, but I'm not as phased by this now that we're talking about it. But I'm like, oh, there's so much more to talk about. And so that's interesting to me, just how two people can experience things differently.
Hmm.
And if both if one friend isn't willing to dive deeper with the other one, then I think that is a moment where I might feel like okay, maybe I'll have more propriety here because I want to protect this friendship.
Yeah.
So that's something that just came to my mind as you were talking about high school relationships, even though it's about my current state.